So we're going to look at now is graphs with holes in them. Okay? So for example, if we want to graph the function f of x as x plus 1 over x minus 1 times x plus 1, so this is all nicely factored. If it's not, all we have to do is factor it. But if we start thinking about it, we would see that there's a couple of asymptotes caused by the denominator. So these two parts would cause us asymptotes at 1 and negative 1, right? And because the numerator just has an x and the denominator would have an x squared, we'd have another asymptote at x is 0. Sorry, y is 0. But before we go ahead, we're thinking about, let's see what technology says this graph should look like. And Desmos says that this is what the graph should look like. So that's kind of peculiar because it's only got one asymptote. And we were expecting 2. So we have to kind of rethink how we're going to graph this function. All right, so we're thinking of other ways to deal with that. Well, I've got x plus 1 on top, x plus 1 on the bottom. So what if I simplify it first? So if I simplify this, I'll end up x plus 1 and x plus 1 cancel. And we get that f of x is the same as 1 over x minus 1. However, whenever we do any canceling like this, we should remember that there's something weird that goes on. But let's see what the graph looks like. So 1 over x minus 1 has an asymptote at 1 and another one at y equals 0. And there's our graph. Now, like we said, when we cancel a numerator and denominator, we know that there was a restriction that we missed there, right? X can't be negative 1. That's from this part right here. And if x can't be negative 1, I want to know what happened to that point. So first of all, looking at the function right here, I want to know what happens at negative 1. Well, f at negative 1 is 1 over negative 2, so negative a half. So at negative 1, negative a half, something weird happens, right? Well, that's a restriction. So x can't be negative 1, which means the point negative 1, negative a half shouldn't exist. Well, that means that on the graph, the point negative 1, negative a half actually gets erased, and we get a hole in the place. So this graph has a hole in it. So whenever we cancel out a numerator or denominator, we can go ahead and graph the simplified function, but we have to remember the restrictions and the fact that it creates a hole. So what I'd like you to do is think about what would the graph of x times x plus 1 over x look like. Okay, so think about that and be prepared for tomorrow.